Hello everybody, thanks for tuning in. It is blowing a gale outside, so there's no way I'm going to be going out on the bike today. So I thought I would upload a quick video for you instead. You can really hear the wind hammering against the workshop windows. Okay, today I'm going to show you how to... Hello everybody, it is blowing a gale outside, so there's no way I'm going to be cycling in this. So instead, I thought I'd upload a quick video for you. Today, I'm going to show you how to correctly size or cut a new chain to your bike. This will be especially helpful if you don't have the original chain with which to size against, or indeed if you're concerned that your original chain isn't quite the right length. And you might be experiencing that if there's a load of slack on the chain in some gears, or indeed if it's really hard to pedal when you're going from large sprocket to large sprocket at either end. You shouldn't actually do that. That's called cross chaining, and it puts an enormous amount of load on the chain, but occasionally you might find yourself in that situation. So it's right and crucial that you have your chain at the right length. So this is what we're going to do. First of all, you need to make sure you've got the right equipment. So this is a chain brake tool. You will need that to cut the chain to get rid of the excess, and perhaps use it to join the two ends together, depending on what chain you've got. The second thing you need is the most expensive piece of equipment you'll ever own. Not quite. It is a thin piece of metal that holds the two ends of the chain together, because once you've threaded it around the derailleur arm, this is incredibly springy. You're going to need a third hand really to hold it all together. This is your third hand, so definitely get yourself something like that. And finally, depending on what type of chain you're going to be having, you may well need a master link separator. I'm going to show you how this works in a moment. The chain I'm putting on is actually quite a low end chain with the rivet, because I want to show you how to reattach the chain using that system. But actually, I would advise you have master links on your chain if you can stretch a few quid out of the bank to do that. Okay, I think that's about it. In terms of setting up, what you need to do is to get your front derailleur just pointing out so it's over the top of the large sprocket, because you don't want anything getting in the way of the large sprocket. If you don't have gears at the front, then that's even easier for you. And what you're going to do is you're going to thread your chain over the large sprocket, both back and front. So we're going to do that in a second. But what I'm going to do quickly is explain to you the two different types of chain that you have. So the chain we have today is one with a rivet here on the male end. We call it male because it's on the outside. It's the larger part of the chain, the links, and then we have the female part here, and quite predictably, hopefully you can see it guys, these two bits join together like so, and then one goes over the other, and then you'd use this chain brake tool then to drive this rivet in the pin all the way through, so it comes out this side exactly the same as its neighbours here, and then that is your chain joined. And similarly, if you wanted to remove a chain, you would push this rivet through, not all the way, but just so it comes clear so you can remove. So that's the type of chain we are going to be joining today, but I'll just show you quickly how the master link system works as well, because it is so clever, and I really would again advise you to get that if you can. So what you would have for a master link chain is you'd have two female ends, and you wouldn't have the rivet in place at all. So there's your two female ends, and the way it works is usually with the chain that you buy that has a master link system, but you can buy them separately as well, these two kiddies would fit over either end. Now this is an 11-speed master link, and this is an 8-speed chain, so actually the 11-speed master link is going to be a bit too short to fit through properly, but I can show you the principle. So you slot it through one side like that, and then you slot it through the opposite side like that, and then you'd marry the two together, and the ends of the rivets for both male parts, both master link parts, would fit through this system here like so on both sides, and then you'd pull away and these two rivets would lock into place like that. I hope that makes sense. It would lock into place just like that, and that's why you need that tool that I mentioned earlier on, because sometimes if these master links are well made, it should be really hard to separate them, and that's where you would get this master link on the outside and really pull away, and that would drive these rivets home. So that's how the master link system works, and of course then you can remove it really easily, because you can clink the two together, and they'll come apart as well. You shouldn't do that too much because this can be quite a soft metal on the master links, and you don't want to wear them down by removing and replacing all the time. But if you're going to be adding some wax to your chain, or maybe cycling your 2 or 3 chains over the course of a season, you definitely want to go down this route. Anyway, while it's the easier option, I kind of want to show you the more complicated route, just so you know exactly what you're doing. Okay, so we're going to be popping the chain over the 2 large sprockets front and back, not going through the derailleur system here. We're avoiding that entirely. But we can pop this chain through. If for some reason your system here is thinner, you might struggle to get your rivet through. Mine was quite easy, but if so, you need to go the other way. Just have enough to go through here so gravity doesn't take over. And then we can put this part over the larger sprocket here. Now that's in place, what I'm going to do is stop the camera, zoom into this section here, because this is the business end now. But all the way through from now, just make sure your chain is completely around these large sprockets. If it comes off slightly at the top end, then that's going to cause a problem for you. You need to make sure it is completely around all the teeth of the sprocket as much as possible before making its way under to the front. Okay, so we've got the whole chain on here. Again, double and triple and quadruple check that your chain is properly going around the rear largest sprocket that is obviously off camera at the moment, and make sure all the slack is taken up and that the chain is as tight as it possibly can be. And then what we need to do is do the actual sizing. This is really easy but really effective. Where your rivet part, the male part of your chain, is at its end, you pop the other end of the chain to meet it, and then you add two extra points. 1, 2. So we're going to cut here. The only reason you wouldn't do that is if it was male to male. And in this case, it actually is going to be male to male. Therefore, I add 1 more leak. Don't remove, always add. So 1, 2, but that is actually going to be male against male. So I'm going to add 1 more, and then it's going to be male against female. Now, what would you do for a master link? Well, it's not terribly difficult, but you need to imagine this part isn't going to be here. So you would just be looking at a female part here now. You then need to still add yourself 2 links. So imagine the master link is still there, and we're going to still go 1, 2, and hopefully meet a female. So female, technically you're going to be adding 3 if you're going to be going female to female, because the master link is going to take up one of those links. I hope that makes sense. I'll say it again. So male to female, when you've got a rivet like this, you add 2, but make sure that adding 2 takes you to another female. If not, like in this case, you add 1 more up. If it's master link, you're going to be having 2 females joining together. You're going to be adding 3 anyway, because one of those is going to be the master link. And again, if by adding 3, you're going to come against a female to male, then you need to add an extra link again. I hope that makes sense. So in this case, this is the harder of the 2. Master link is so much easier. We've met up there. We're adding 2. Again, that's a male to male. So we're going to add 1 more, which is just this point here. And this is where we get our chain break tool, which is amazing. And the chain break tool, we are going to be popping over the part. Again, double checking that this is going to be a female part for us, which it will be. And we're going to be driving that pin, that rivet, all the way through. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to pop it all the way through, if I can help it. Because it means that if I've made a bit of a mistake, for any reason, I can add this part on at the end. So I might not have done it enough, but let's see. Oh, yeah, I have, just right. So now this is excess. In theory, we don't need this anymore. We'll only need it if I've made a mistake, which I know I haven't. And then we can bring the chain back round. It's a really fiddly job when you're kind of working around a camera. Okay, this is going to be back down to here. I'm going to move the camera out now because we're going to thread the other end of the chain around the derailleur. I quite enjoy this part. It's quite therapeutic. The first thing you need to do is to get your chain to the smallest sprocket, because almost certainly your derailleur is going to be at the high end. It just makes life a bit easier for you. If not, just click your gears down so that it is in the right place. And we're going to do a couple of S's. We're going to go round, which has already been on, around this first wheel here, and then round the next wheel. There's one thing to bear in mind though, it's going to be off camera, but usually just under here, there's a bit of metal, which is kind of a crossbar. It's very tempting and just natural for you to bring your chain round like this, and then keep going. The only problem is, I'll just show you quickly, you're then scraping a bit of metal just here. And I don't know if you can hear this. Probably over the wind you probably can't, but it's touching a metal here. This chain should be hidden. So the fact it's popping out here shows that it's the wrong side of the bar that's just out of focus, out of shot. So we need to get it through that part. There we go. And then you'll see now the difference. The chain is now hidden. So we're going S, S under that bar, and then S over the bar, under the bar here as well. Always stay close to the wheels. And you can see now the chain is in place here. It's also in place down the bottom, ready to go. So we're going to join these two parts, and hopefully it will stay in focus. I'll do it right now in one take, and you can see how simple it is. Get your fancy, really expensive piece of wire, and just hook it onto here. And then now we can pull this down, and you can see how much extra slack we get on the chain by joining the other end as well. There we go. And then we just pop the two together in the fashion that I showed you earlier on, like that. All in place. Hopefully. There we go. And then we can use that chain brake tool to drive the pin in. So it's not just a chain brake tool, it's a chain unbrake tool, if you like. Okay, here we go. Just going to drive that in and make sure the pin comes through the other side. There shouldn't be much resistance. If there is, then there's a potential that the two ends aren't joined together properly, and you could potentially kink the chain links and cause a weak point, which again is why I prefer a master link. But I thought it would make sense to show you how to do it with a lower end chain, which is technically more difficult. So now that's in, you'd think we are job done, wouldn't you? But just bring this in closer for you to show you an issue that you could potentially have. Let's get this in focus for you. When you have, once you've attached the two pivot ends, sometimes it can give you a stuck rivet. So there we go, that's the piece we've just put in, and you can see how much tension there is to it. It shouldn't be that tense. It's not a problem. Just get yourself a screwdriver, and this part here, we're just going to put the screwdriver in and just stretch that rivet that went through a little bit more. There we go, problem solved. So you shouldn't have any seized links as a result of that. And therefore, we should be done. Let's zoom out and have a look. So there we are. You now know how to size or cut your chain to your bike using the very simple +2 method. This is again using a simpler, cheaper rivet method. This should show you actually how hard it isn't to do. But I would advise, as I've said already, using the master link system, because it's so much more versatile, so much more easy to attach and to remove if the need takes you. But there we are, done. Thanks so much for watching. Take it easy, enjoy the weather, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.